Welcome to Afros and Audio's Black History Month interview series. My name is Talib Jasir, founder and CEO of the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, the first two-day conference for and by Black independent podcast creatives and audio professionals. I'm excited to spotlight 28 outstanding indie podcast creatives who've answered the call to be a part of the series. Today, my guest is Antoine and Santoine of the Connected Experience podcast. Welcome and thank you for being here. How are y'all?
All right. Hey, how you doing? I'm Santoine.
Thank you. I'm Antoine.
And we the Connected Experience.
All right. So tell us about yourself. We get to the podcast in a minute, but talk to us a little bit about both of y'all.
You can go first, bro.
With me, I'm Santoine. I'm one half of the Connected Experience, but actually I'm also an award-winning best-selling author under the moniker S.L. Jackson. I have an award-winning fantasy novella called Animal Instinct: The Urban Jungle. I have a best-selling children's book series with my 6-year-old daughter called The Adventures of Shelby Sunshine. And I recently just released a true crime novel called Justice for Nikisha, A Father's Pain, which I co-authored with Calvin Hawkins of Michigan City. It's a novel about his teenage daughter who was murdered, and he didn't give up. He was persistent, and he solved the murder, and the guy was eventually convicted. It's actually a series on Hulu called Web of Death, and episode 5 is called Facebook Live. That's the story that I wrote the true crime novel about. So I would encourage everybody to go check that out. But that's who I am as half of the Connected Experience with my twin brother, Antoine.
Yeah, and I'm Antoine, the other half of the Connected Experience. Right now, I currently develop shows for an upcoming streaming service. So we technically got about 5 shows in development, but we got 2 that we really know that's gonna go. So I've been in creator mode for, I don't know, I've been developing these shows probably for the last year, you would say?
Yeah.
So I create and develop shows, and then once I get it to a certain
TV
point,
shows, you gotta
TV
say.
shows, yeah, TV shows. So, and I'm also a casting director for. I've been a casting director now probably for 3 years. I have a series that I casted on set to come out. And then I got a film that's gonna be really big that's set to come out. So I that's kind of where I dapper my hat. And on top of that, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother.
That's awesome, man. That's I love hearing that story. That's really dope. Where's the podcast come in and all of that? Why did you guys start the Connected Experience?
So when we started, because we listened to podcasts. So initially we are fans of podcasts. So back, we talking about in 2017, it was only a handful of Black podcasts. You really had to go search and find them. And of course, it was the big ones like Tax, Combat Jack, Joe Budden. It's always been a staple of big ones, but we would search for the smaller ones. And upon our search, we found that in our community where we from Inkster, Michigan. That's 20 minutes from Detroit. So if you ever came to Detroit Metro Airport, that's in Romulus, Michigan, which is 2 minutes from Inkster, Michigan. Okay. Right? So we would listen to podcasts, and we studied it for about a year and a half. Our initial thing was, hey, man, let's just interview podcast hosts, right? This how less amount of podcasts it was. We wouldn't have lasted. It wasn't even 10 hosts that we could have interviewed. So then we said, well, you know what? We connected, we plugged around the world. Let's just put people we know with other people we know who do the same thing. So for example, if you were an actor, we would put you with the top director in the city because we would know them, and we would have a discussion about acting, what it takes to direct, how, like the dedication it takes. And we will hope when y'all left, y'all would do good business together because both of y'all know us, and neither one want the other one coming back saying, hey man, your man scurved me or did bad business. So that's what the Connected Experience started off as. And we still take the same premise because we still like really connected, but now we just interview. It's a lifestyle show, so we don't care what you do because your story important to somebody.
Nice. Antoine, you got anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, basically we just like to sit down and have real open and honest conversations with people. And it's not about what you do more than who you are, because everybody is somebody and they got a story to tell. So, okay, yeah, you might rap, but how did you even get to the point of rap? So we just basically like to have open and honest conversations. And we had some pretty big guests over. So like, again, we've been doing this since 2017. We got hundreds of shows, you know what I'm saying? So we got a nice extensive catalog for people to go back and learn about people.
Yeah. All right. Do y'all put y'all's podcast out in seasons?
No, it's just one. We don't even call them episode one. We just,
Okay.
it's out here. You know what I mean? We started in 2018, November 4th, because that's a really good friend of ours' birthday. And every time we release something, we put it around people we love, so it could be special for them too. So that's one of our friends' birthday. And we released it that day, and we haven't missed a day episode since. We release once a week, even during the pandemic, because our shows aren't dated, because we don't talk about nothing in the news, because nothing in the news has to do with the person we sitting with. Yeah. So we stack our shows. We might record 3 shows in one day, and that's 3 weeks of content. So even during the pandemic, we had shows to when people couldn't go record, because we're not really fans of like over the internet, because sometimes you miss like an opportunity to strike with another part of a conversation. So we didn't do no Zooms or anything during the pandemic for our show, but we still was able to maintain because we had so many in the tank.
Nice. And how important has it been that you two are able to create together as a family, as brothers?
Well, we've been creating as brothers since before the world even got to know us. We identical twins, so it's not a time like when we were small. We had our own language that we spoke to each other that nobody could understand, just my brother and I. So we've been creating with each other for eternity. So we used to at one point we were rappers, and then at one point we were CEOs. We only did a couple of things not together. Like the thing is, like I'm a writer and an author without him, but we've released a book together on a business level. So we always create together. It's very seldom that we won't do anything without each other.
Yeah, man, that's special. That's really dope. When you started your podcast, in what ways did you feel like podcasting created a lane for you that the books or TV or other platforms didn't really create for you? What about the podcasting industry has even kept you in it because you got all these other things going on?
So the podcast didn't create a lane for us. It actually created a lane for other people to come speak. So it used to be by us, we used to be artists, right? So it was so difficult to find outlets to discuss what you did, because you either had to go to a big city or really be in the know. And we the type of people who like to discover things. So we say, if we available, people will discover that they can come here and talk. So we actually created the lane for other people, because we rarely do solo shows. We have, but we always want our podcast to be about what someone else is doing, because that's our gift to the world. If one person find out about you through us that you don't know, like our job is done. So that's how I would phrase it, that we actually opened a lane for others.
Yeah. Because we just naturally help people. Like our lifestyle that we live a lifestyle of I want for my brother what I want for myself. So we naturally help people. So even when I meet people, I say, well, what can I do for you? Whatever you do, I guarantee that I know somebody that do that, good, bad, or indifferent. How can I help you? And so the connected experience, that's exactly what it is. It's a connected experience. The experience is like, when we used to sit people down together. So if you into clothes, we'll sit you down with Ty Mopkins, and at the very least, you get to have a consultation or a conversation with somebody of that magnitude in your field that you might have aspirations to reach. So we open the doors to create lanes for other people. Because like a lot of when we had the podcast summit in 2018, we were only podcasting for 2 months, but we put so many people in the room, and so many of those people met other people, and now the podcast market in the area is just booming, and 80% of the people who came out that room got something to do with podcasting now.
That's what's up, man. Talk a little bit more about that. I had another question for you, but since you brought it up, the podcast summit, and then you said y'all have done something even bigger since then.
So
Talk about those two events.
So the Urban Podcast Summit is because, again, we come from music, right? Some of the biggest things in music used to be conferences, right?
Mhm.
And people would travel to these conferences. Like we've been to North Carolina to go to a DJ conference with the Fleet DJs. We've been to Cleveland to go with the Nerve DJs. So we said, yo, this is our opportunity to do that for podcasts. So through really just speaking to people, right? Because it was the Urban Podcast Summit, Premium Pete, we reached out to him initially and we advertised with him, but we grew a working relationship. So we would talk, he would give us pointers and stuff like that. And if a guest would come that he felt like, he would see if we wanted to sit down with him and everything. So what ended up happening from that is we said to each other, yo, let's throw a summit, just like we used to go to for music. And we called it Urban because urban means Black. And we was trying to build the Black podcast community in the city and surrounding areas. And we just put it out there. If you want to know how to podcast, if you want to be on a podcast, and this is what used to happen. So I used to work in retail, right? And working in retail, I know and bumped into everybody. So it's a radio personality named Big Greg. He's from the Bronx, but he worked on the biggest radio station out here, right? He loved Jordan 1s. So I made sure he had a Jordan 1 that was like really rare to get. He came on our show. But when he was there, he was like, yeah, I should do something like that. We say, yo, we having a summit. This before we even booked anything. We said, we having a summit. You want to come? He was like, I'll be there. He was like, matter of fact, do y'all want to come talk about it on the radio?
Nice.
Yeah. So his morning show was him, Delicious. I know you're familiar with Delicious. She used to be on The Flavor of Love. That was his morning show host. So we went down there and we talked about podcasts on the radio. This is, nobody understood. To get guests, we used to have to say like, it's like talk
Like
radio.
radio. That's
That's
what
how
we
we
used to have
used
to
to
tell them.
get guests. Hey, it's like talk radio. So when we went and talked about it on the radio, people started like reaching out. I'm coming to the summit. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? We booked it. People came. He showed up. It was a success. It was beautiful. Pictures pop up to this day. You know what I'm saying? Some people didn't start their podcast. It started now. Our homegirls call you back. They some of our sisters in pod. You know what I'm saying? We deal with them regularly. Our partners from Shop Talk. Now, Shop Talk these was the why do I keep doing that? These was the podcast in the city of Detroit. On the east side, it was
Audio Wave,
and we went over there and they had a show called From Scratch. We was on the show From Scratch that in Curve. We end up being real cool, but he recognized me from retail. So it was Audio Wave, it was From Scratch. It's a name tag is necessary. That's an artist named Name Tag Alexander. And his show was about like music because he's an artist, real dope artist. And he like West Side. Then on the West Side, it was Shop Talk.
Talk Studios, right?
So, and then they was a podcast, and then they became a podcast studio. So we advertised with them also, just like we did Pete. We end up knowing so many people. It's like, how didn't we meet already? And we start recording our podcast up there. So this building is in Oak Park. That's the same building we end up having the summit in because one of our mentors had the biggest floor in the building. So we rented the floor, and that's where we had the summit at. So from the summit, we said, man, we could do better than that, because we can't have a summit every month. You feel me? Because that'll play out, and you can talk now, bro.
So after we did the summit, we sat down and we brainstormed and we created Urban Podcast Month, which is May. So we just take the whole month of May to celebrate urban podcasts. So we had start throwing events during May and all of that. And then at one point, was it 2019? During May Urban Podcast Month, we had a big live podcast show, but it was at the African American Museum downtown, and it was silent listening. We the first people to have a silent listening podcast, but we downtown in the biggest African American museum in the world, basically. So people are in the museum, but they got on the headphones, and it's private listening, and other people walking around seeing it. It was just a beautiful thing. Like we put people on the cover of magazines, and so Urban Podcast Month is May. So from now on, now that you know, we just push it. Urban. So when you do your thing in May, just make it part of Urban Podcast Month, because the vision and the goal is for us to travel around to different events in May during Urban Podcast Month. And at the end, we throw a big event and everybody come to that. Like it's gonna become so COVID messed it up really, because once COVID hit, Urban Podcast Month, we still hashtag, we still did all that, but we wasn't able, because we are the type of people to put people in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We rarely did video interviews and all of that. So, but Urban Podcast Month, back to that, is every May from here on out. So from the moment somebody hear me say this today, every May after that is Urban Podcast Month. And if they got an event they want to bring us to or whatever, they just got to holler at us. But that's what it is. May is Urban Podcast Month. And that's just to celebrate all urban. I don't really use the word urban no more, but since that's what it is, that's what it is. But that's where we celebrate all the podcasts that everybody do. Because initially when we decided that, it's at the time, it's 2018, it's still not a lot of podcasts. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense now. But then people was looking at us like, well, is it gonna be enough events to go to in May? Because it wasn't a lot. But now that that's changed, it's gonna be the biggest thing in the world.
That's what's up. Well, we definitely look forward to collaborating with you all on that for sure. That's exciting, man. And what I'm hearing from y'all is that there's a lot of just organic and natural like talent and understanding of how to connect people and network and just create. That's really dope. Hearing from y'all and getting to meet y'all and having this conversation. One of the things that I wanted to ask before we got into the summit and Urban Podcast Month was about each of you share a story. You talk about the fact that your podcast and everything else you do is really about connecting people and people that can support each other. Is there any like real success story that you can think of that stands out for both of you from the work that you've done through Connect Experience and everything else that you want to shout out?
Yeah, so for me, like I said, with casting, right? So I was working on a series and I've been the casting director on the series when the series was just a thought, right? Because we did a project with the guy who wrote and directed the series, right? So we had a guest, right? And he brung his brother and stuff, because, you know, people bring people to the studio with them. And I looked at his brother and I was like, hey, man, have you ever thought about acting? And he was like, bro, we just was talking about that in the car, because we believe like the universe put you where you're supposed to be at that appointed time. He like, man, we was just talking about that in the car. Like, how would I get into it though? I said at 3:00 today, meet me in room 216. So, you know, you tell people, you don't know if they come. This guy came, he killed it. He did so good at casting that, of course, he in the series. We cast him. He do so good in the series that they thinking of making a spinoff show for him. This is this guy first time acting. I don't even remember his first name. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not about me. You here, I got the connection. All you got to do is show up. If you don't show up, that's on you. He showed up. He showed out. He did it. That's a success story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Him and the guy we end up interviewing was in it. But the one who said like, yeah, I want to act, he actually a staple in the series. He one of the characters people go, remember. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. All right. Santoine, what about you?
I mean, we actually been doing stuff like that for decades, though, putting people in rooms. When we used to do music, we started a online learning institution called the collegeofhiphop.org, which is still active right now. So we're responsible for some of the biggest artists that's happening right now out of the city, helping them set up their publishing, stuff like that, you know. So we've been in rooms and help people, and people might not have realized it was us until we see them again and be like, hey, yo, that was us.
Yeah.
So we've been doing stuff like that through different outlets and avenues our whole life, basically. So that's why we the connected experience, because we know a whole lot of people we connected with. Again, we ask, how can we help you? Because we know that we know somebody that do whatever you into.
Yeah, word up. And as you move into 2023 and, you know, you've got so much of a legacy so far and things that y'all are doing, how do you want to expand this and what's y'all's vision as y'all move forward?
I know for me personally with the expansion, so all of that we told you, we look at that as that was cool because that was yesterday, right? What we working on now as far as the shows, his book that he just wrote, Justice for Nikisha, Those are things that's going to carry the legacy, right? Think about this. Merv Griffin created all of those game shows and was able to navigate where he could put game shows on different networks when at one time that was unheard of. And I tell my wife and I tell my brother, I'm following that pattern, Merv Griffin, right? Every day, my daily affirmation is that from the creation of one of these shows, I'll forever have a deal at every major network because of the shows that I create.
And not to cut you off, but in the meantime, we in the midst of creating an actual network that's going to be the biggest network for this type of content that the world has ever seen. So like my brother is in game show creation mode and as on a Merv Griffin tip, and then I'm more on a Walt Disney tip, because what I'm doing, I turned my award-winning fantasy novella, my brother and I turned into an award-winning limited edition animated series fantasy podcast that it just hasn't come out yet, but it's award-winning. We won the best TV series animation in Tokyo, Japan. That's the home of animation. And then the book series that I have with my daughter, The Adventures of Selby Sunshine, we're turning that into a Saturday morning style type of cartoon, which is, and the books are based on my daughter. So I'm attacking it from the Walt Disney perspective, like he's attacking it from the Merv Griffin perspective.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm hearing all of this from y'all and I'm like, wow, y'all really killing the game and ain't nowhere near finished, you know? There's people at home, they're like, damn, I have all these dreams, I have all these visions, but I can't seem to get the first recording done of my podcast or what have you. What are some things that you would tell people who have big dreams and want to do it? Y'all are going for it. What would y'all say?
Just start.
Yeah, just wake up and do it. Like, no, like, when we don't even set goals, we just live in our reality. So when he tell me he want to do something, he's already doing it. I'm not surprised by anything that my brother's ever done.
Right. So when I tell him, bro, I got this game show idea, it's like, I probably already got 50 questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna start sending you questions and say, what you think? Can you answer this? Is that too hard? Would a regular Joe be able to get this? Should this be? And when he tell me he about to start writing another book, I just give him his space, get out the way. When he want me to start the proofread, he had sent it to me. Is that flowing good? Is that working good? Is that, what do you think? And we do it like that. So that way we both create together, but by no means have I helped him write a book per se, but I've read every book to make sure it flowed right. By no means is he the casting director, but of course he sends people my way. If he's somewhere talking to somebody, hey, call my brother. A lot of people that we don't know together don't know we twins. So when he be like, go talk to my brother, and it's like, y'all twins, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
but people just got to start, man. That's how you know if you believe in yourself. If you start, you don't believe in yourself if you don't start. You can't tell me you want to have the best free throw percentage and you never shot a free throw. Right now, you 0 for 0. Get out there and put some buckets up.
Yeah.
Miss some shots. That's what you got to do. Like, failure is way better than success to me, because failure builds character. Success don't build character.
Yeah, word up. Y'all doing a lot of big things, and I'm super happy to now get to know you guys and see what can be built moving forward, because I love what y'all doing. I respect everything that y'all have accomplished so far. It's super dope, man. So congratulations on everything so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us too. We appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I can't wait for people to hear this interview and know what y'all got going on down in Michigan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And then we definitely go bring you on our show.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And I do want to tap on that. When we think about things that are going on or things in the news, you typically see what New York is doing or Atlanta, Georgia, or California, something like that. And people sometimes don't even have places like Inkster, Michigan on their radar. You know what I mean? So,
but we are, though, because what people fail to realize is Inkster is everywhere. Our saying is one thing: you spell Detroit without the I. And we say that because Inkster is literally everywhere in the world, any walk of life that you say, we can point you to somebody from Inkster who has had a hand in it, from the first person to do open heart surgery in the state of Michigan to Motown writers, because Stevie Wonder was married to a lady from Inkster, Michigan. So some of those songs we know was either about her or assisted by her. So
Yeah.
and everything in between.
Nice. I love that, man. Y'all just expanded worldviews with folks thinking what's going on down in Michigan. Well, this is what's going on. Some really brilliant brothers coming out of Inkster and just doing some dope things. So I appreciate y'all being a part of this. Like I said, I really can't wait for people to have the experience of listening to y'all, listening to what you've accomplished, but also starting to listen to the Connected Experience. Because I have listened to some episodes just to get prepared for this, and I love what y'all are doing. And I can tell the heart is all in it when it comes to bringing people on, like you said, and allowing them space to tell their own stories from their own mouth. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I know we're doing. Even I'm a writer as well, creative. And so I know that we're putting out our living record right now. So that's what's up, man. I appreciate this conversation.
No, we appreciate it too.
We definitely appreciate
our show air every Monday, all platforms. The Connected Experience. You just type that
no
in
YouTube.
anywhere.
It's no video though. It's barely video.
Oh yeah, it's not on YouTube. It's barely video, and that's by design actually, because podcasts are audio. When people be on YouTube, those are YouTube shows, and that's a difference. And YouTube changed their terms of agreement so much that it's people think it's beneficial to put their stuff on YouTube, but it really benefit YouTube, because think about this. If they change their terms and agreement, but your video got 1 million views, you don't want to take that down. But now it's not beneficial to you no more, because 1 million views is billions of people in the world. That same video could actually grow to 5 billion people watching it. But once they change their terms and it's not beneficial to you, it's only beneficial to them. So it's like people got to be careful with it. Got to be a mutual thing every time, whatever you're doing, and changing people terms and stuff like that to where they don't benefit, but we know they're not gonna take it down. That's not good business to me.
Yeah. And I just want to say this about this conversation that we've had is that y'all are not just creators, but y'all understand the business of it. And that's so important for people not to get exploited and used by any industry. As we move this forward, we know that the podcasting industry is ever evolving and it's changing, but there are a select few, just like most industries, that are benefiting from it. And the creatives, we have to figure out our own way to benefit. And so just real quick, what would you say is the importance? Because I think podcasting and just the other creative endeavors has an entrepreneurial spirit to it. With the entrepreneurial spirit, business acumen is important so that we can get what we came here for and not misunderstand what the opportunities are.
I think people should always try to find their niche. And if you find your niche audience will find you, right? I'd rather have 500 solid listeners who are a part of my community that we built together. They know what they go get. They appreciate the episodes. When we do special stuff, they know that they're the first people who will be able to access it and contact us. Then people just tuning in because they heard a clip and they thought the clip was salacious and it's lopsided. So that episode might have 1 million downloads, but 1 million people not gonna keep tuning in if they figure out and it's not salacious. So if you find your niche will find you, because everybody got an audience. You know what I mean? Right now, a lot of people who appear to be winning, they really just gossiping, right? Mm-hmm. But when you sit around and gossip, you eating up idle time that you can be working on your niche so people can find you who should be attracted to you. We don't chase anything. We only attract what love us.
Yeah, word up. Santoine?
Just to piggyback off of that, be mindful of what you're doing and be true to what you're doing. Like a lot of shows right now are just copying their favorite shows and they not getting to experience being an actual good show. They got all the elements of a great show. So just be true to your app, because every time somebody hear it, whether they're on a super high level of podcasting or they never heard one before, it captivates them. So we know our niche now. The word is spreading more. Like this year, 2023, we were nominated for a Detroit Choice Award. That's the biggest awards in the city. I have bro send you the link so people could vote. They just click on the link, scroll all the way down to your favorite local podcast, and vote the Connected Experience. That was somebody else recognizing us. We didn't never set out to do this for nobody to nominate us for an award, but we stayed true to ourselves. And that's what you get. You get recognition. Win, lose, or draw. That was just cool that somebody in some type of power recognized us, you know? So it was just stay true to yourself and who you are.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, y'all, I'm going to close this out. I really, again, appreciate this conversation. If y'all just hang tight for me real quick. So I want to give a big thanks to our Afros in Audio and Black podcast community for supporting our commitment for community and collaboration. If you'd like to join the Black Podcast Association, the link will be in the description below. And I'd like for y'all to tell everybody where they can find you.
At TCE Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And like I said, we release shows every Monday. Anywhere a podcast being played, you can find us. Just type in the Connected Experience, get familiar, go back and listen to that catalog. We've had some phenomenal guests, and some of them that's been their first interview. You know what I mean?
All right, that's what's up. And so all y'all's descriptions, including the plugs, I love the books and everything like that. Can't wait to check it all out in the series. I'm excited for all of that. So all of that will be in the description below. All right. So if y'all want to join us at the 5th annual Afros in Audio Podcast Festival, visit bit.ly/AFAU, which will also be in the description, and follow us on all social media channels at Afros in Audio. Thanks again, Antoine and Santoine, for being a part of Afros in Audio's first ever Black History Month interview series. All right. Peace.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for having me.